At midnight, Ethan Parker sits slouched on a worn-out couch, the cold glow of a single lamp casting shadows across his small Chicago apartment. Rain pelts the windowpane, blurring the city lights outside, echoing the turmoil inside him. His hands tremble as he stares at the divorce papers Clara has served him. The words, "You're poor. I deserve better," stabbing deeper than any argument ever could. Every line seems to mock his failed dreams and unfulfilled promises, highlighting his vulnerability. The apartment is littered with remnants of a life they once dreamed of together. Old coffee mugs, a half-read book, and a neglected wedding photo frame. Ethan's chest tightens as memories of better days collide with present reality. The audience immediately feels his fragility, empathy intertwining with suspense, as the opening frames his isolation and emotional fragility. This scene instantly establishes the stakes: betrayal, heartbreak, and humiliation. The narrative drifts into Ethan's mind, weaving tender flashbacks with present anguish. A wedding day memory emerges, sunlight spilling over a park where Ethan and Clara exchange vows, their eyes shining with unguarded hope, hands entwined as if they could face any challenge together. The audience sees Ethan's declarations of love, his promises to build a future despite financial uncertainty. Now, juxtaposed against the stark reality of his apartment, the contrast is painful. Each cherished memory, dinners on the balcony, lazy Sunday mornings, laughter-filled arguments, clashes with the emptiness and despair he feels now. These flashbacks deepen the emotional resonance, making the audience feel the weight of lost trust and unfulfilled dreams. The deliberate contrast between past joy and present pain emphasizes betrayal not just as a legal act, but as a personal, soul-crushing wound. It foreshadows the journey Ethan must take to confront his worst nightmare, that transcend mere words. Back in the apartment, reality intrudes violently. Ethan, desperate for connection, picks up his phone and dials Clara, but the call goes unanswered. Panic and sorrow twist his features as he flops back onto the couch, opening their shared photo album for solace. He turns pages filled with smiles, vacations, and celebrations, proof of a life that feels simultaneously distant and unattainable. Then, through the thin walls of their apartment, he overhears Clara laughing, her voice unrestrained, intimate, and disturbingly joyful, speaking to another man. The subtle hint of infidelity pierces his heart, mixing heartbreak with anger. The audience senses that this is more than a divorce over money. It's a betrayal of love, trust, and emotional intimacy. This moment sets the emotional tone for the story, establishing the hook that Ethan's life is unraveling in every dimension, while foreshadowing the worst nightmare he will soon confront. The tension is immediate and irresistible. Ethan Parker's story begins long before the apartment, in a modest, cramped home where ambition was tempered by necessity. His father worked double shifts in a factory, grease-stained hands, and aching back, testament to tireless labor, while his mother balanced housekeeping and part-time jobs, instilling values of honesty, perseverance, and humility. From an early age, Ethan understood that life demanded effort, not entitlement. He learned to be self-reliant, repairing bikes for neighbors, tutoring younger kids, taking every odd job to help the household, but the struggle left its mark. Despite his hard work, financial stability was always just out of reach, creating a constant tension between desire and reality. This foundation shaped Ethan into a principled man, diligent yet painfully aware of his limitations. The audience begins to empathize with him, seeing a man molded by responsibility and integrity, yet vulnerable to the harshness of a world that equates worth with wealth. Clara grew up in stark contrast, luxury and privilege surrounding her, silver spoons shaping expectations of comfort and entitlement. She had little experience with scarcity, opulent vacations, designer clothes, and servants were the backdrop of her childhood. When she married Ethan, she expected similar indulgences, but life with him was an unrelenting reminder of limits. Ethan, desperate to meet her halfway, pushed himself further, buying gifts he couldn't afford, staying late at work, covering every expense to earn her approval. At first, Clara seemed appreciative, but gratitude turned to expectation, expectation to dissatisfaction. Small gestures never sufficed. Ethan's hard work could not buy her happiness. The audience senses the imbalance, one partner's integrity clashing with the other's entitlement. This tension creates frustration, empathy, and anticipation. The seeds of eventual empowerment and justice are quietly planted as Ethan shoulders emotional and financial strain, setting up a deep, relatable conflict. In the present, Ethan's modest life is framed by his small apartment, cluttered workspace, and the constant hum of financial stress. As a mid-level graphic designer, his talent is steady but underpaid. Bills pile, rent looms, and discretionary money is nearly non-existent. His days are long, work monotonous, but a few constants: coffee with his best friend Mark, shared frustrations, and occasional mentorship provide fleeting relief. Yet even these comforts highlight his isolation. Friends can advise, but they cannot shield him from Clara's judgment or financial strain. Ethan's self-doubt grows, intertwined with the exhaustion of giving everything and receiving criticism. The audience feels the weight of his life, understanding that the true conflict is as much emotional as it is financial. The stage is set for transformation. Ethan's principles and endurance will soon become tools for empowerment, foreshadowing the arc where resilience and integrity lead to personal triumph. Ethan Parker, fueled by a mix of nervous excitement and love, returns early to their shared apartment on what should be a joyful anniversary morning. He carries flowers and a small, thoughtfully chosen gift, imagining Clara's delighted reaction. But as he quietly opens the door, the world tilts. He sees Clara entangled with Brad, a polished, affluent businessman, in a scene impossible to unsee. Time slows, his heartbeat pounds, and the air seems to thicken with betrayal. The contrast between the love Ethan expected and the infidelity before his eyes is devastating. The apartment, once a symbol of shared life, now feels alien, tainted, and mocking. Every memory of Clara, the promises, the laughter, the quiet nights, collides violently with this revelation. The audience experiences Ethan's shock viscerally, a man blindsided, hurt to his core, realizing the life he thought he knew was a facade. This moment cements the emotional hook, raw and unforgettable. The confrontation, though brief, is incendiary. Clara notices Ethan's presence but reacts not with remorse, but with cold justification. She accuses him of being a failure, reiterates that she deserves someone better, and dismisses the love and sacrifices Ethan has made. Her words, sharp and unapologetic, cut deeper than the physical betrayal itself. Ethan feels a storm of conflicting emotions: heartbreak, disbelief, and a rising fury he barely restrains. Every fiber of his being wants to lash out, yet he chooses silence, letting the enormity of the betrayal sink in fully. His restraint is not weakness. It is the first glimpse of a strength that will shape his journey. This encounter establishes Clara's moral flaw, painting her as self-centered and callous, while also highlighting Ethan's capacity for controlled, strategic responses, setting the emotional tone for his transformation. This devastating discovery marks a clear rupture in Ethan's life, the first major deviation from his familiar world. He retreats silently, leaving the apartment and allowing the betrayal to simmer, processing the magnitude of loss without confrontation. The incident sets into motion divorce proceedings, a legal and emotional battle that will test Ethan's resilience and sense of dignity. It also ignites the spark for personal growth. A man who was defined by compromise and patience must now redefine himself, confront injustice, and reclaim autonomy. The audience sees both the pain and the potential for empowerment, recognizing that Ethan's journey is about more than love lost. It is about reclaiming identity, proving worth, and transforming adversity into strength. This inciting incident is not just shocking, it is the pivot around which the entire story will turn. The divorce drags Ethan through a storm of humiliation and despair. Clara, now flaunting her lavish lifestyle on social media, posts snapshots of fine dining, exotic vacations, and designer labels, each image a painful reminder of what he cannot provide. His followers and even mutual friends subtly take sides, echoing Clara's narrative that Ethan is inadequate, a failure incapable of success. Depression creeps in, heavy and insidious, clouding his focus and sense of self-worth. Though friends like Mark reach out with advice, encouragement, and emotional support, Ethan's pride and heartbreak keep him isolated, unwilling to accept help fully. Every notification from social media, every passing conversation about Clara's prosperity, fuels his feelings of inadequacy and shame. The audience is drawn into Ethan's internal struggle, sympathy and frustration mingling, as the story explores the emotional toll of betrayal, societal judgment, and the crushing weight of pride in the wake of personal collapse. Ethan's challenges deepen when he discovers the extent of Clara's betrayal. She has drained their joint savings accounts, leaving him nearly bankrupt. The realization is a punch to both his security and pride, amplifying the emotional turmoil with tangible consequences. Clara's family joins in, subtly or overtly belittling him in conversations and gatherings, painting Ethan as weak and undeserving. Mutual friends, swayed by Clara's narrative, distance themselves, leaving Ethan feeling abandoned in a world he once trusted. The financial stress forces him to confront harsh realities: unpaid bills, overdue rent, and the threat of legal complications. Yet amid this pressure, a spark of determination emerges. The audience senses a turning point. Though Ethan is battered emotionally and materially, These challenges begin to catalyze awareness of his own resilience, resourcefulness, and the need to reclaim dignity in a life that has been systematically stripped away. Despite overwhelming adversity, Ethan begins the slow ascent from despair. He takes on freelance graphic design projects, working late nights fueled by coffee and sheer determination. He reconnects with estranged family members, seeking not only financial support but emotional grounding, finding fragments of encouragement and loyalty he had forgotten. Simultaneously, he starts documenting Clara's unethical behavior, her recklessness with finances, manipulative tendencies, and abusive treatment of Brad, meticulously recording evidence for potential leverage in divorce proceedings. These actions, small but deliberate, mark the first steps in reclaiming agency. The audience observes his transformation, from isolation and despair toward cautious empowerment. Each late-night project completed, each supportive conversation with family or friends, is a brick in rebuilding his self-worth. This stage sets the foundation for the climactic reversal, creating anticipation as viewers invest emotionally in Ethan's journey from victimhood toward strategic resilience and eventual triumph. Ethan uncovers Clara's most audacious deception. She has been siphoning funds from Brad to maintain her opulent lifestyle, a secret so brazen it shocks even him. The revelation ignites a strategic plan. Ethan decides to expose her anonymously, sending evidence to Brad and Clara's social circles without revealing his identity. As the proof circulates, Clara's carefully curated image begins to unravel. Friends, colleagues, and social acquaintances confront her or quietly withdraw their support. Invitations vanish, deals collapse, and whispers of betrayal echo in once trusted spaces. The audience witnesses the power of truth when wielded strategically. Clara, accustomed to control and admiration, experiences vulnerability and panic for the first time. Ethan, meanwhile, observes silently, calculating his next move, balancing emotional satisfaction with tactical precision. This moment shifts the narrative. The predator in the relationship, the manipulative, entitled Clara, is now exposed, setting the stage for a dramatic, public unraveling of her constructed life. Armed with evidence of Clara's fraud and reckless behavior, Ethan enters the courtroom for the divorce proceedings. Unlike the timid, heartbroken man from earlier, he is composed, assertive, and dignified. Clara, once confident and commanding, now trembles under scrutiny, her defenses unraveling under legal precision. The judge and audience witness a stark contrast, Ethan presenting meticulously documented proof of her manipulation, her financial mismanagement, and her betrayal, while Clara fumbles, flustered, and cornered. The courtroom becomes a theater of justice and poetic reversal. The audience feels catharsis as Ethan's intelligence, restraint, and strategic patience are rewarded, while Clara experiences public humiliation and social judgment in real time. This confrontation not only ensures Ethan's legal advantage but also symbolizes his emotional triumph. He has reclaimed agency, dignity, and moral high ground, cementing the story's dramatic peak and delivering the narrative tension that has been building through his journey. By the end of this climactic week, Ethan's transformation is complete. Clara's perfect life, wealth, influence, and social standing crumbles in public, leaving her facing humiliation and isolation. Ethan, in contrast, emerges as a figure of quiet strength, dignity, and resilience. The audience witnesses a full character arc, from a man blindsided by betrayal, financial ruin, and social judgment to one who wields intelligence, patience, and moral clarity to reclaim his life. Every calculated action, every late-night project, and every careful documentation effort culminates in this victory, both legal and personal. The narrative delivers emotional closure, showing that true empowerment derives not from retaliation, but from preparation, composure, and ethical action. Clara's downfall serves as poetic justice, while Ethan's ascent inspires catharsis, satisfaction, and hope, leaving the audience invested in the protagonist's journey and emotionally fulfilled by the dramatic reversal. After the storm of betrayal, humiliation, and financial instability, Ethan begins to reclaim his life with deliberate steps. Drawing on his skills and experience, he launches a small graphic design firm from a modest office space, taking on projects that challenge and excite him. Late nights filled with dedication and creativity now replace anxiety and despair. Gradually, contracts grow, clients trust his expertise, and his income stabilizes, providing not just financial security but also a renewed sense of pride. Beyond professional success, Ethan reconnects with estranged family members and longtime friends, creating a support network that reminds him of the value of loyalty, love, and genuine human connection. The audience witnesses his transformation from a man constrained by fear, debt, and heartbreak into one who commands his life through diligence, vision, and integrity, reinforcing the story's theme that resilience and principled effort eventually yield real, lasting rewards. Ethan's journey toward empowerment is not just financial, it is deeply emotional. He reflects on the lessons carved out of hardship. Self-worth is not determined by wealth or external validation, and integrity is more enduring than manipulation or deceit. Each memory of Clara's betrayal now serves as a reminder of his resilience rather than a wound. He cultivates emotional intelligence and patience, learning to assert boundaries and value his dignity above transient desires. His mornings, once clouded with anxiety and regret, are now filled with purposeful routines, creative exploration, and moments of joy with friends and family. The audience feels catharsis as Ethan's internal transformation mirrors his external success, emphasizing that true empowerment is holistic, rooted in self-respect, ethical action, and unwavering moral clarity, ensuring that emotional growth accompanies practical achievement in his life. The final act solidifies Ethan's empowerment when Clara, realizing her social and financial downfall, attempts to reconcile. But Ethan refuses. He has evolved into a man guided by self-respect and foresight, unshaken by emotional manipulation. The audience experiences satisfying closure. The antagonist faces the consequences of her greed and deceit, while the protagonist thrives, achieving stability, dignity, and genuine happiness. Ethan's victories are both visible and symbolic. His successful firm, supportive relationships, and calm, confident demeanor represent the cumulative payoff of patience, strategy, and ethical perseverance. The narrative closes with a sense of justice, moral equilibrium, and emotional fulfillment. Viewers are left with hope, inspiration, and satisfaction, witnessing that true strength emerges not from retaliation or malice, but from resilience, integrity, and the courage to prioritize one's own well-being and happiness over the whims of those who seek to undermine it. Ethan steps into his newly opened art gallery, a space alive with his designs, vivid, thoughtful, and reflective of his journey. The rain falls gently outside, streaking the city streets, but inside, warmth and light envelop the room. Walls are adorned with digital prints, mixed media works, and abstract pieces inspired by both struggle and triumph. Each design tells a story of perseverance, reminding Ethan and the audience of the distance he has traveled. Gallery visitors admire his work, engaging in discussions and photographing pieces, their excitement echoing the satisfaction and validation he has long craved. As he moves from one exhibit to the next, he feels a quiet pride that is deeper than fame or wealth. It is the fulfillment that comes from creating, from crafting meaning from hardship, and from standing tall on his own merit. This moment visually and emotionally celebrates his professional and personal renaissance. Amid the celebration, Ethan pauses in front of a portrait of himself holding the keys to his modest apartment, a poignant symbol of humility, struggle, and the journey to independence. This simple object, a set of keys once associated with limitation, now embodies triumph over adversity. He reflects on the lessons learned. Self-worth is intrinsic, dignity is priceless, and integrity endures where manipulation and greed fail. At this moment, Ethan receives a message from Clara, a feeble apology, tinged with regret. He reads it, smiles, and sets the phone aside without bitterness. The audience feels the catharsis of his emotional transformation. Ethan has found closure not through revenge but through mastery over his own life, resilience, and ethical clarity. The gallery, the portrait, and the rain outside collectively form a visual metaphor for growth and redemption, illustrating that the protagonist's journey has come full circle. As Ethan steps back from the portrait, he glances around the gallery, noting the warmth, laughter, and admiration filling the space, a sharp contrast to the isolation and despair of his past. His gaze turns outward through the rain-streaked windows, and the city beyond seems vast but inviting, symbolizing opportunity, freedom, and a life untethered from past betrayals. The closing line, "I didn't lose my wife. I found myself," resonates deeply, encapsulating his journey from heartbreak and humiliation to empowerment and self-realization. The audience experiences full emotional resolution. The pain of betrayal is transformed into strength, shame gives way to dignity, and financial struggle yields to creative and personal fulfillment. Ethan's story closes not just with success, but with wisdom and serenity, leaving viewers inspired, emotionally satisfied, and reflective on the enduring power of resilience, integrity, and self-discovery.